Hello and welcome to today's edition of Route 664, The Road to Human Kindness. I'm Winston, I'm your host, and I'm national spokesperson for socialsacharity.org, and that's a project of the Endow America Network Foundation. And we had a very interesting response to last week's program when I was telling people that politics is dead and the economic world has begun. But it's true. Politics, rather than government, is really the problem. We need government, but we don't necessarily need the politics that are involved in government, and that's one of the issues that we have to deal with. And I think that's coming to an end, because as we embrace the economic era in the world, there'll be a greater likelihood of world peace and human kindness, because people that fight with each other don't generally trade with each other, and that's been true for the history of the world. So we need to get into the economic era. And how do you do that? You get into the economic era using something my good friend Charity told me, which is the power of social charity. That's the magic power that can change things drastically. And it was given to us by Congress, which is pretty amazing. In their infinite wisdom in 1969, they gave us Section 664 of the tax code. That's why this program is called Route 664, The Road to Human Kindness. I wear a lot of different hats, and one of the hats I do wear is I am voluntarily serving as the president of the Aventura Sunny Isles Beach Chamber of Commerce. And that volunteerism is really important to me. It's something that we have all over the country in other chambers of commerce, and that's the movement that I think we need to build on. The era of human kindness is going to be served by being kind to others and volunteering your time and doing things that are necessary. Chambers of commerce are very, very important organizations. They've been around for a very long time, and they should have a very important voice in the community to get things done. So we are embarking on a project with the Endow America Network Foundation as the chamber to enhance the use of social charity in our community to build certain projects. Those projects that we're concentrating on right now are safe schools, great schools, safe streets, great streets, and safe care, great care. My guest today happens to be involved in one of those areas, which is safe streets. And Tony Garcia is my guest. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
Tony is StreetPlans Miami.
That's right. That's right.
StreetPlans Collaborative. Thank you, Wanda. So I know you've also written a book about your topic, which is how to deal with urbanism, how to do that properly through tactical means, tactical urbanism. Tell me why tactical urbanism is important.
Oh, that's a great question. Tactical urbanism is about using short-term, low-cost materials to try to affect a long-term change. And we see too often cities invest a lot of dollars in planning studies and capital improvement studies that don't really go anywhere because there's either a lack of political will or a lack of money. And so we see tactical urbanism as a way of unlocking the potential of what people need in terms of infrastructure.
How does it help to get past the political aspect of it?
Well, because instead of spending a decade and millions of dollars doing studies and a lot of staff time trying to do projects, you do something that is very temporary and reversible, which is the key to this work, is that it's easily implemented, but also easily changed and reversed if the political winds don't align. So often the reason projects don't move forward is because people are afraid to move forward because of something what if this happens? What if that happens? And if you say, well, we're going to use very temporary materials, we're going to bring the public on board, we're going to bring the elected officials and do something very temporary, and they see, well, adding this bike lane didn't cause pandemonium, it didn't cause more traffic.
So you're test driving.
You're test driving. It's all beta testing. Okay. That's all it is.
So, and why don't the political entities do that on their own?
They do. Well, the way
it's effective on their own?
Well, the thing is that the way that we produce projects right now, it's a project mill, right? There's a long-term budget, and projects are put into capital improvement plans. If you call 311 right now from Miami-Dade County to put a crosswalk right outside this building, It'll take 5 years, maybe more, studies, hundreds of thousands of dollars, when it's something that we can do in a morning with $150 worth of materials from Home Depot, right?
So in other words, you go out and paint the lines yourself.
Yeah.
And then see what happens.
And see what happens. and what happens is
Yeah.
you didn't need a study to justify it. And you had all the public support you needed. So now that the municipality can come in and do it with
How do you know you had the public support?
Because they'll come out. The public will come out.
Is that because they're using the crosswalk?
Because they're using the crosswalk, or because they, people own the street. The street in front of your house is your street, right? When you talk about your house, it's your street. So when you do something in front of somebody's house and they weren't involved, they're going to tell you about it. And the way that we do projects right now, cities will send a postcard to your house, right? Or an email. And that's just not personal. Nobody wants to hear about a change to their street in that way.
But what they're sending me is already kind of
already baked.
Complete.
It's already baked.
So,
and so
all they want to know is whether I'm going to like it or not. Or
no, well, actually, all they're doing is,
on it.
This is really interesting, actually. This is a legacy of the construction of the interstate system, right? The interstate system was constructed in the 1950s and early 60s, and there was no public involvement. There was no outreach to communities, and most often those
well, they had it. I don't mean to interrupt you, but they had it through representation in Congress.
Yeah, but individual outreach to communities, the way that we do now.
That the big picture is that we have the political representatives who are representing us as a body politic, and they're influencing what's being done at the local level. Right.
So those highways actually went through communities of color all around the country. And the legacy of those projects is, oh, wait, we can't just do this. We need to have these very expensive and lengthy public engagement processes, which are really performative and not actually iterative or flexible.
They're just meant to paid for.
Oh, tax dollars.
Okay. So we're advocating something a little different with what we're talking about with Safe Streets, Great Streets. What we're looking to do with Safe Streets, Great Streets is to build endowment in a community from the people that live in the community. After the people have passed on, they would leave that legacy. And that legacy would be used to endow continuing projects so that the funding, somebody has to pay for what you do.
Right.
So how does that get paid for?
Municipalities most often. Well, actually, it's a split. We find more and more our clients are foundations and nonprofits where they step in smaller communities. We were just in Chattanooga, where our work was being funded by a local foundation because the municipality doesn't have the resources to do the work. So on the one hand, there are municipalities like Miami-Dade County that are funding this type of work. And then there are also private foundations.
But don't you have to go to the municipality and ask them for the funding in order to do the project? Or you have to ask them for permission to do the project?
You have to ask them for permission. If you have the
funding, can you do the project without their permission?
No. Ultimately, the city has to give you the permission to do the work.
Okay.
For example, now during COVID, what's happened during this last year is we've been talking about tactical urbanism for 10 years, more than that at this point. And during COVID, what happened was municipalities realized they needed to pivot fast or else the economy was going to tank more than it already did by opening up streets for people walking, biking, and outdoor dining. And the only way they would do that is by using tactical urbanism methods. So you see a wholesale adoption from the top down of a process that was really bottom up.
Okay, so this article that came out today, coincidentally in the Miami Herald, pandemic helped us create great public spaces. Let's keep the momentum going.
Absolutely.
So how did the pandemic do that?
Well, what happened during the pandemic was we realized we couldn't have people in restaurants, right, in tight quarters. But if you use the outdoor space, the street space, to expand dining or whatnot, then you could help that restaurant survive. And the only way you could do that was by taking space from the street. At the same time, traffic dropped because everybody was at home. There's actually a dichotomy. There were our essential workers actually were not at home. They were taking transit and biking and walking to work. And so there was a greater need also to provide facilities for those people to actually go to work.
So the change actually occurred as a result of a need.
That's right.
That came about.
That's right.
So like we hear a lot about climate warming, this climate change. From what I understand, it's a very long way away still, and we don't even know what the effects are going to be in between. So we're kind of planning for this thing that's way out there.
Right.
But if you plan according to what you're saying, as you see need arise, and if you actually try to see whether or not you can solve the problem, using actual examples,
Right.
you're more successful with that.
Absolutely.
And the acceptance level at the municipal level is becoming greater,
much higher
from a political standpoint.
Much
It's
higher.
yeah.
Much higher. And so what this article talks about, and I think what we've been saying for a while is, okay, what is the next step? What is the forward momentum for these projects? Where you go from something very temporary, which is ugly Jersey barriers or delineators, to something that looks more elegant and more permanent. And that's how you go from the very short term to long term.
Yeah, I heard something on one of the tapes that I was listening to about putting up these, I guess, cones for a bike path.
Right.
And one of the city employees objected and said, "What if a car comes by and hits the cone and it hits a bike rider?"
Right.
So the
Right.
the speaker said, "Well, what if the car hits the bike rider?"
You would be surprised. Maybe you wouldn't be surprised. That's a conversation we have frequently. Still to this day, we create protected bike lanes, and the conversation is, well, what if a driver hits that thing? Well, then you just protected somebody who's in the bike lane or on the sidewalk from getting hit.
Are you still involved in the Ludlam corridor
Trail?
project?
Yeah,
Ludlam Trail?
absolutely. That's a project very close to my heart. It's really out of the community's hands right now. The powers that be are planning and implementing it, and hopefully that's one where we would love to see an acceleration of the work.
So are you also involved in the underline at all?
No, not at the moment. I'm not.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that's kind of an interesting project as well. We're using open space and then converting it into something that's usable.
Absolutely. And consistent with the conversation we're having right now is, how do normal folks, citizens, get involved and fill a void that government simply can't? Government can't provide everything that we need. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I feel like the foundation stepping in and nonprofits stepping in are indicative of some weakness on the side of the government. But really, there's just so much need that they just have to get out of the way so that folks like us can actually go and do the things that we want to do.
Well, people need to know that it needs to be, well, people need to get out of the feeling that they can't think of anything else but protecting themselves,
right?
Which is kind of where we're coming from,
right?
So maybe listen, the pandemic, if it's changed to create more public space, that's a wonderful thing, right?
Yeah,
it's beneficial.
Absolutely.
So something good came out of that.
Absolutely.
Maybe the other thing that'll come out of it is that people will realize that, now I'm free, I can do a lot more,
right?
And give their time to do the things that you're talking about. If they see that something in their community needs to be changed, they can have the power to change it.
Personal responsibility. It's about personal. Think about 100 years ago. What was the scale of the city? Normal folks were more involved in how the city operated, but there's so many layers between us and how decisions are made that it's like, well, I'm just going to wait until something happens.
Well, you can't fight City Hall is what the standard.
That's the adage, right?
So the other thing that was interesting is everybody that goes to these town hall meetings, they're either angry, disturbed, or worried.
That's right. That's right. So what we love to say about this methodology is that it gives people another outlet to engage in civic life. Because what do? We vote. Right. Or we try to run for office, very few people, right?
Right.
Or we go to council meetings and we're really upset about whatever it is. Very few times you see people go to council meetings to support something, right?
No, they're never smiling.
They're never smiling.
No.
So what this does is this methodology that brings people into the process of creating infrastructure, specifically for public spaces and streets, is it gives them a positive venue to channel that energy. And they might be upset about a project initially, but if they're involved in the decision-making process, they realize it breaks through that cynicism, which I think has been growing so much over the last decade. You've got, Occupy Wall Street on one side, and you've got the MAGA movement on the other side. But they're really drawing on that cynicism about government doesn't do anything for us, and we're just passive observers in this process. Yeah, and that's I think that's the nerve that I hit last week when I was talking about changing from politics. I said we're kind of in an era of anti-disestablishmentarianism. Love that word. But the establishment doesn't want to give up in a lot of ways. And some of the things that the establishment has done through politics and it's funny because town hall meetings where you have everybody coming in that's angry, those people are generally the same people that come in all the time. Right. So you get those people who are running the people that are running the other thing. And it's not necessarily completely fair to everybody in the community. That's right. That's right. So how do you get people to give a voice? It's by showing them that they have a part in the decision-making process. I think that's where we come in and we say, look, we're going to start from zero. We're not going to tell you. Remember, we're just talking about you get a postcard in the mail that says, this is happening to you. So it's about co-creation with folks. And that is a really a tough pill for public officials to swallow, to just say, well, we're not going to control the process. We're going to let the people control the process, and we'll interject our professional expertise where appropriate. But we're going to allow something to happen without knowing what the outcome is. And that's hard, I think.
So let's say that just as an example, Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce came to you and said, we have this really bad street problem. We have homeless people all over the place. How would you attack that?
The homeless problem, well, I mean, that's outside of what we do as
well, it's part of the urbanism. The question of how do you do anything to alleviate that where government's not?
Right. Well, one of the things that I've seen happen here actually in Miami Beach, where you've got foundations coming in and funding rooms for people who are homeless. That's something that's totally bonkers, I think, to municipal officials. Like, we can't spend tax dollars to house people to just pay for their rent. But in fact, it actually is a benefit to the city and reduces costs to the city with regard to homelessness in particular. So relying on your nonprofit partners, I think, is something we go back to over and over. And successful projects, when it comes to our work and street design and implementation, the city is not the only responsible party. They rely on their nonprofit partners, on the community groups, on just folks in the community, and they don't try to.
Well, somebody has to tell them what's going on. So the communication between the citizen saying there's a problem, and then how they get to resolve that problem, and that's one of the things that we were talking about before with Safe Streets, Great Streets. So we think that that's the way that chambers of commerce actually could get involved a little more if they could provide additional funding to take care of those kinds of needs, so they can really help those people that are in need.
Right.
That's part of human kindness as well.
Well, there needs to be some sort of a structure, right? So, and this is something that we go back to often, and I've been thinking about it more and more lately. Cities are not well suited to do public outreach. It's just not part of their wheelhouse, unfortunately, and it should be, but that's where I think.
Why should it be?
Because they represent folks, and they have the power to direct money, right? In the
is the citizens' welfare their primary concern?
100%. So what is the organizational mechanism or the stewardship model that will allow for cities to do their part, to do what they're good at, which is structure the project mill, keep the money flowing to the projects that need the money, and review them for life safety issues, but allow for people to actually take responsibility and personal ownership. There is the role of community groups and nonprofit, I think, they fill in that, or foundations. Yeah, absolutely.
In the best sense of the word.
Yeah.
My guest is Tony Garcia, and Tony is StreetPlans Miami Collaborative.
Principal,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you're a principal? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So how do people get involved in what you're doing? Are you a for-profit business?
We are an urban planning firm. I'm an architect.
Okay. And, So you're approaching it from a professional perspective in the profession that you are, rather than as a steward or a volunteer in the community.
Absolutely. Well, I backed into this as a steward and a volunteer, because my business partner and I met writing a blog as advocates in the community called Transit Miami. And we were both working at firms doing other things, and we decided, look, we want to do this for a living. And some of our projects are charitable. We just got a grant from the Miami Foundation and the Knight Foundation to give micro grants to restaurants to pay for the barriers and the tables and the chairs to keep their outdoor dining going. So it's really something that I think municipalities should be doing, but our local foundations stepped in.
If you had a continuous resource,
right?
And that's what an endowment is it provides a continuous resource so that you don't have to, because raising money for whatever cause is very difficult. And there's a lot being written about that right now because of the pandemic.
Right.
In fact, a lot of nonprofits are having a real problem raising money. So we're trying to find a way to create the endowment. It's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
What you do doesn't happen overnight, but you're pretty quick compared to the way the government usually works.
Yeah.
My guest is Tony Garcia and StreetPlans of Miami Collaborative. And thank you very much for being with us today here on the community newspaper.
Thank you.
Allowing us to use their studio in the back here for this first time, for me anyway. And we're proud to have you as a resource in the community. And Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness, you can help us with the roads.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Much. Yes.
Definitely.
Okay. Joe, you there? My next guest is Joe Gabbers. Joe is the community ambassador for the Aventura Sunny Isles Beach Chamber of Commerce. And Joe joins us today. How are you, Joe?
I'm doing pretty good, Les. Can you hear me?
I can, yes. I actually
Excellent.
wanted to get with Wanda before we came together for her to put on the video. Hi, Wanda.
Hey, video.
Hey, Wanda.
Hey, how are you, Joe? How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Why can we see you, Joe?
Gee, I don't know. My power just went out,
Oh.
and I just got back in again.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we can hear you. That's beautiful. So,
So I know you guys went out to what was it, Miami Juice? What is that place?
where is Squeeze? Miami Squeeze, Joe?
Yeah, Miami Squeeze, and
Miami Squeeze. Where is that located?
that's located on 183rd and Dixie Highway.
It's tricky. I've seen it. I've passed by there a few times. It's a lovely place. Juicy. I love juice. But
Yeah.
And great smoothies and a very healthy joint. But it's local. I love the local little hidden places. So
They have wheatgrass juice there, right?
yes, shots of.
Yeah. Okay. So what did you do when you were there, Joe?
Oh, so what we did is we met with the staff. The owner wasn't there, so Wanda and I, what we did was we enjoyed the juices that were there, and of course I had my usual shot of wheatgrass juice.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
Then we went to the resort, beachside, Joe.
Yeah, we went to Kitchen 305.
oh, the Newport.
Right. Yeah, and
Okay.
we took a look at the pier, and what we wanted to do is we wanted to double back and do a specialty shoot with Kitchen 305.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you gotten any shoots done?
We started, and then we're going to go back. I'm going to go back this week,
Okay, great.
today, maybe.
So this is all part of the Aventura Sunny Isles Beach Chamber of Commerce trying to assist the commerce in the cities of Aventura and Sunny Isles Beach, which is pretty clever.
Yeah.
So the idea is that we want to build on the catalogs that are provided to our members. We want to give them some video recognition, some video advertising, so people get to know it a little better, and also help the chamber to spread the word about businesses that are open for business as usual, and where you can go and enjoy the ambiance of a good restaurant. You know, shop in your local stores. The chamber's role in this is to help its members do everything possible that we can do for the members to make them more successful. So, Joe, tell me where you're headed after the Newport and other places. What have you got in mind?
Yeah, what we want to do is we want to hit a couple of our previous members. Of course, what we want to do is we want to go back to our premier members, and there's another juice bar right over in Sunny Isles that we want to visit with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how's the weather in Sunny Isles Beach in Aventura?
Sunny.
Oh, yeah, listen, it's beautiful. And I think that Wanda was in there for a little bit of a shock because, we did make mention that one thing that I left out last time we spoke was the beauty of our shore. All right, that the people actually do come to enjoy our beaches, Allendale Beach, Sunny Isles Beach. Yeah, Wanda was on a little bit of a shock because that pier extends out, I think, about 250 yards out into the ocean. You get a beautiful, beautiful shot of the Newport beach.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
And that's a good fishing pier.
Yeah.
I used to go there with my dad when I was a very young kid.
There was a little kid.
I was always a very young kid. Now I'm just an old kid. So, but that was a really nice pier, and there's a nice restaurant there now. They rebuilt the pier after the storms had destroyed it, and so I mean that's a sight to see in Sunny Isles Beach. But people call me all the time from all over the country. They want to know, first of all, is the city open? Are all the restaurants open? What do you say to them, Joe?
Are we open?
Yeah.
We're open for business. And let me tell you, anywhere else that you go in the country, all right, it's still shut down in many places, all right? So they haven't even started to survive. I'll tell you something very interesting about the pandemic, that here we have an overabundance of sunshine, so that you do have your vitamin D,
Good point,
which
Joe.
actually combats
Mhm.
COVID. So maybe that's one of the reasons why we're thriving here in Florida.
Could be,
We
could
get a
be.
lot of sunshine.
Yes, sir. That's the truth. That's why it's called Sunny Isles Beach.
Right.
And thank you, Joe, for joining us today on Route 664.
Talk to you soon.
And
Joe.
talk to you soon. And we'll look forward to seeing some of those videos. We'll be able to share them on
Beautiful,
Route
beautiful.
64. Yeah, the road to human
Okay,
kindness.
thanks.
Take it easy. Thanks.
Talk to you soon.
Okay. So, Wanda,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much for introducing me to Tony.
Yes, that was a gold mine there. He's
Isn't
got
that-
good
yeah,
stuff.
it's good stuff.
And I realized I'd seen that trail, the Ludlam Trail, when that was in progress being built. I was like, oh, that's him.
Yeah, it's a corridor that used to be a railroad line
Yeah.
or something. Yeah,
Mhm.
so it's interesting. It's carved out of the
Mhm. Nice
the
bikeway, walkway.
the ecology. So we don't have to go and destroy anything to make it. It's already
Yes.
made. So you can use it, find a way to use it.
It's a good
Yeah.
idea.
So Safe Streets, Great Streets, one of the projects of Chambers of Commerce, which we think should take hold and be very, very valuable to all communities, as well as Safe Schools, Great Schools, Safe Care, Great Care. We'll talk about those in future shows as we come up. But Safe Streets today was really interesting. The whole idea of tactical urbanism and actually creating what you think you want to have and see if it works, as opposed to creating it and then see if it works. It's a little
Putting
bit
the
different.
power in the back to the people.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and people can have the power. That's what the year of human kindness is. So how much time we got left, Tommy?
Wow.
3 minutes.
Use it wisely.
Well, we could talk about, I think,
Well, next week we have Broward Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity.
Oh, great.
Broward. That's how
Okay.
that goes. That's
good. It's also about safe streets, great streets in a way.
building houses.
Yeah, building houses for people. Good.
And so we look forward to, I forgot her
Have
name.
you met Charity yet?
Not yet. We've had conversations, Charity and I.
Yeah. Okay.
She talks to me in my
Okay.
sleep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Charity's
Tell you more.
pretty powerful little girl. Yeah. So we're gonna introduce you to her sometime in the future. So look forward to the show where you get to meet Charity.
Good.
And we're happy to be on the air here at Community Newspapers. This is a really good facility to be able to tell our story, and we appreciate it very much. And Tommy, of course, your help is always appreciated. How much time we got left now?
Oh, we just wrap it up.
Okay.
Just wrap it up. We love you. Come back next week. We'll be here
Yeah.
with more good news about things that are happening around South Florida.
Yeah, it's
And the
not that I want to stop talking. But-
No.
Okay. We'll see you next week.